My name is Jason.
My name is Tom.
And this is a comic strip AP of Monster of the Week featuring the story of Robert Larousse. And when we last saw Robert, he had just finished acquiring Salt and Silver. Salt and Silver. That sounds like a really fun album from the 70s, right? Like a classic rock album, doesn't it?
Hawkwind or something, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. You just finished acquiring Salt and Silver, and it's all good. I guess my question for you, Robert, is where do you go now? You have an idea, a hint of where the creature might be, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, I've only ever seen it in the subterranean, I was going to say catacombs, but I think technically they're not. But certainly in some kind of subterranean complex beneath the school. And yeah, I think that's the only place I can really start looking for it, especially during the daytime. I don't think it would be abroad above ground. I suppose the only other consideration is that I do have to mix the salt and the silver somehow, so perhaps I need to go and prepare that before I descend into the Underworld.
I will say that the text was not clear on that. You might just be able to stuff the cavity with salt and silver. More a symbolic thing than a chemical thing, right?
Okay. Well, in that case, let me see. Anastasia's not really on the scene. I do want to somewhat forewarn Cynthia in case things go terribly wrong that she should be carrying a mirror about her person. I think maybe I would have done that earlier.
Sure.
And yeah, I only know one entrance to the underground complex anyway, so I have to go back to that room with the curtain and the stairs, I think.
Yeah, it was like an office, and there was a curtain that went to some stairs that went to the subterranean portion, right?
Yeah. And
I think I just want to roll forward with that. I think, if there's someone in the office, if it is someone's office, and it might be, maybe it's Signora De Luca's, who knows, but she's preoccupied. I think there's probably nobody in there, so you can just slip in and go down, do you?
Yeah, I have... Let me see my preparations other than this. I've got my kit bag from the car. I've got my black turtleneck sweater on to, conceal myself in the dark. And apart from a selection of makeup mirrors that I've been purloining throughout the day ever since I found out what what I'm doing, that's all the stuff I have, I think.
You once again find yourself carefully going down the steps. You see the gouges in the walls, and you're at that big, heavy, torture chamber-esque door, right? Big, heavy wood door. What do you do?
Once again, I listen for signs of life within before attempting to unlock it.
Okay, go ahead and give me a read a bad situation roll.
That's a 12, adding in my sharp +2.
Nice. You get hold 3. Go ahead and spend it. And you don't have to spend them all right now either. You can spend them as you go into the room too.
What's the biggest threat?
Again, kind of echoing our earlier episode, you hear that sort of stick-like clacking and scratching along the stone. I think he's in here, or it is in here.
Right.
Vassago is making his rounds.
Okay. And my next step is to very quietly try and pick that lock, I suppose. I really should have looked around for a ring of keys, shouldn't I? But whatever.
You'll find it's open.
Oh, well, that's slightly worrying. I will open it just a crack to see if I can slip in without making too much noise.
Give me an act under pressure.
Okay.
And you get a +1 for following up on your read a bad sage.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Since presumably you're trying to avoid being noticed by the creature.
I am trying to avoid being noticed by the creature. Yeah, that's a 6.
Ah. You do sneak in. You don't see the creature. We know that in the past it has made like a sort of circular patrol-like kind of movement around the room. But it looks very similar to what you saw last time, except there are no cultists arranged in a circle. The chairs are still there, and there actually are a couple of lit candles. And even across the way, you see the little altar with the box that is supposed to contain the head of Catherine of Siena. And as you are creeping in a little closer, you realize now that there is someone standing in the room. As your eyes adjust and focus, you see someone standing in the room wearing one of those long black cultist robes with the hood up, and their back is to you. And they begin to speak. You know, it's funny, all those months I spent in prison because of your treachery weren't exactly wasted, Robert. Let's just say I was able to find religion during all that time. Of course, when I heard you were in Rome, I couldn't resist trying to get my revenge on you, and what could be more ironic than convincing you to break into the place where you were going to meet your doom? And then it began to be a little bit like the old days, and I was reminded why I liked you so much in the first place. But that's over. And then this person turns around, and it's Anastasia, and she has a gun, and she doesn't sound like Anastasia, importantly. What do you do?
I immediately duck for cover behind one of the pillars in that outer circle of archways. I'm sure we can have some action-packed repartee any second now, but in the meantime, I don't want to be standing in front of a gun.
She lets you hide. You're not going to be able to run for much longer, I'm afraid, Robert. Everyone is on high alert. You are not getting out of here alive. I will leave it to you how you're going to die. Either by my hand or by Vassago's. The choice is yours.
Anastasia, what exactly convinced you to join this esoteric society?
You know, it had something to do with bringing about the end of the world as we know it. Some people would view that as a terrible thing, but others would view it as an opportunity.
What makes you think that you'll be around to enjoy it after it happens?
Let's just say that I have certain assurances about how this is going to go. But for now, we have to get back to business, and this little game we've been playing is over. And she begins to kind of cross the room. And she's making for the exit. And she says, I'm going to close this up behind me. Let me know if you need anything. And then she leaves and closes the door, and you hear the chunk of the door being locked. And then you hear in the darkness, what do you do?
So, what I want to do first is to start moving around that outer ring of darkened archways, keeping my distance from the bleating, and look for some places where I can put those little mirrors that I brought with me at roughly eye level, let's say. I'm trying to remember what furniture was in here. I mean, we know there are large candles and
large sort of like standing iron candelabras, plinths, pillars. There's the altar space, chairs.
Yeah, I mean, so around the edge, for example, one might press a mirror into the wax of a large candle that would hold it.
Oh, indeed,
if you did it hard enough, that kind of thing. And then, having done that with, let's say, 2 or 3 mirrors so that they're quite visible, if you were to run over to that part of the circle, I will grab my... hold on, I need to check the Crooked's gear. What am I actually carrying in that kit?
Hopefully a big knife.
Well, yeah, there's a big knife is on the list. Yep, I took the big knife. The hunting rifle might be a little bit much to get into that bag.
Right, yeah, that's a bit of a stretch.
So I think it's just the 22 revolver and the big knife. Well, I'll make do. So I'll beweapon myself and go out to the central area with the chairs in order to... Basically, I want to try and bring out Vassago and then get him to chase me to where he will suddenly be confronted with his own reflection.
I love it. Give me an act under pressure.
8.
You've got Vassago's attention, and you're going to be able to move him into place, but it's not going to go quite as you had hoped. In fact, what happens is you are maneuvering into position, trying to draw him out, get him to chase you to the center. But at a certain point, you feel the delicate, light stroke of fingertips on the back of your neck, and a warm breath that smells like a sickly floral smell, like rotten flowers, right? I think we'll end it there. Hi, this is Jason from The Gauntlet. If you enjoyed this episode of Comic Strip AP, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We have many other Comic Strip AP shows available, each organized in their own sequential playlist for easy listening. Just go to youtube.com and search for Gauntlet RPG.